Joel Embiid has 3 games left to make his case for MVP. The Phillies have opening day on Friday, and the Eagles made a little pre-draft trade. All that coming to you on Sports Talk Philadelphia. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Sports Talk Philadelphia. I'm your host for another episode, Cale Flieger. I'm joined by my usual panel, my co-producer, Aiden Sixtinski. Aiden, how we doing?
Doing well, Cale, but excited for Phillies regular season baseball.
Yeah, we have Matt Dorenzo back for another episode. Matt?
I'm doing well. I'm really looking forward to Embiid's MVP push late in the season.
Yeah, so we're going to jump right into the Sixers as they are the main talk of the town right now with only 3 games left of the regular season. They were 3-1 in the past 4 games, but an ugly loss to the Pistons, which had a lot of people scratching their heads. The 102-94 loss where Embiid was the only player that showed up that game, 37 points, 15 rebounds. Harden not being that co-superstar that we needed him to be in that game, 4 of 15 shooting. The Sixers bench scored 8 points in that game. Compared to 39 Pistons bench points, so that's probably the main reason they lost that game. They did beat the Hornets, Cavaliers, and Pacers on a 3-game win streak currently. Embiid, back-to-back 40-plus point games, pretty much showing his case for MVP as we are cutting down to the season here, and Jokic does lead him so far. I do want to jump back to that Pistons game, that 102-94 loss. That just can't happen, guys, right?
You know, that was by far the Sixers' worst loss of the entire season, especially because it's so late in the season, especially because this is the point where Harden and Embiid should be clicking. The fact that Harden struggled this much this game is really disappointing. But the biggest thing is just the bench played terribly. And this is something that's been talked about a lot with Doc Rivers' rotations. Maybe he has to pair some of the starters with bench players. But something just has to be fixed because that was just an atrocious game all around besides Joel Embiid.
No, I absolutely agree. That was really an embarrassing loss. There's really no way to put it. I understand those losses. If you lose to a team like the Pistons early in the season, it's like, oh, okay, we're just getting our groove back on. But right now, this close to playoffs, the Pistons are a lottery team. They haven't been more than 20 wins the past 3 years. You can't expect to win a championship if you're losing to teams like that. And Embiid did carry us, but the defense, the rest of the team, the bench especially, were just absent. And going forward, we really show their true colors, and it can't happen.
Yeah, I think at this point, like we said, the Sixers bench has been struggling, but it's a crime to put DeAndre Jordan at the floor at this point. I mean, the Sixers in their G League affiliate, Delaware Bluecoats, they had Carl Bassey, who had about 37 points and 20-some rebounds the other night in that game. Doc, I don't think it'd be a bad chance giving him a shot. I mean, 3 games left. You guys see what your options are here at this point because the backup center position, ever since that Ben Simmons trade, has been a big struggle for the Philadelphia 76ers. We are going to jump to a positive side. They are on a 3-game win streak right now. Embiid, back-to-back 40-plus point games. Embiid is the only third player in NBA history to have 12 40-plus and 10-plus rebound games. Only other 2 players to do that were Russell Westbrook and Moses Malone. Both won MVPs that season. Joel Embiid being the third. Will he win that MVP? Not so sure yet, but he's definitely putting his case for it so far. What are your guys' thoughts on this 3-game win streak? I mean, pretty good wins against the Cavaliers are a solid team. Hornets are in the playoffs. But obviously winnable games, and they won all those games.
Yeah, I certainly want to point out that Hornets game. Coming off that awful loss to the Pistons, Sixers really played very well in this game. Embiid had 29 points. They didn't play the fourth quarter. It just shows the Hornets are a borderline playoff team, and if we can do that to them by blowing them out of the gym, winning by 30 points, we're going to be very successful come playoff time, and especially that Cavaliers game. Embiid and Harden really showed. Harden with triple-double. That duo can do whatever they want to do in the playoffs as long as they can have the right mindset going with it. And I just really like those 3 bounce-back wins coming off that awful loss.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about these 3 wins especially is the fact of how well the bench played. They scored 49 points against the Hornets. That is a huge improvement, especially because that was the game right after the Pistons game. So just a really nice improvement. Shake Milton's been averaging 8 points per game in those 3 games. He's going to have to really step it up, especially coming up to the playoffs. But I think that if you include the fact that Embiid's been playing just amazing, scoring 40 points in 2 of those games. The fact that Harden got a triple-double in one of those games as well, I think that's going to be really good for the Sixers heading into these last 3 games.
Yeah, I do want to bring up the Pacers real quick. Tyrese Maxey had a career game that game, knocking down 8 of 11 threes, having 30 total points. We've seen from last year to this year how much Tyrese Maxey has really improved his three-point game. Last year, he was a low 30% three-point shooter. This year, He's top 5 in the NBA right now for season three-point percentage at 42%. So he's shooting the ball great right now, and the Sixers are definitely going to need that scoring ability heading to the playoffs here. Embiid currently leads the race for the scoring title, doesn't lead it for the MVP race from the last straw poll we talked about last week, but Embiid now is averaging 30.4 points per game, highest in the NBA right now. Like I said earlier, Embiid has 12 40-plus point games, 10-plus rebounds. He's obviously putting together a solid resume for this MVP race. Do you guys think Embiid ends up with the MVP trophy?
I just don't think he does, and it's so frustrating, especially because we've been covering him all season. And the way that he's played all season, especially in these last 3 games, and pivotal games after that Pistons game, that can be really demoralizing for a team. And Embiid stepped up and said, no, this is not going to be the end of the season. We're going to push through these last regular season games in the playoffs. I feel like the voters need to take that in consideration, his leadership as well as his scoring accolades and all that, and they're just not. And I feel like this is so frustrating as a Sixers fan.
I think he absolutely should win the MVP. On pace to be the first center to win the scoring title since Shaquille O'Neal. And we all know who Shaquille O'Neal, top 3 player of all time, dominant-wise. Without Embiid, the Sixers are a lottery team. You saw early in the year, the second best player was Seth Curry and possibly even Andre Drummond. And for the Sixers to be up there in contention with the East the entire season, I think Joel Embiid is the only MVP worth talking about.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, no knock on Nikola Jokic. He's a great player and everything, but the things that Joel Embiid is doing this year are undeniably just MVP worthy. So I definitely think that Joel Embiid should get that MVP trophy. Whether he gets it or not, it's going to be a big question. I think the city of Philadelphia is going to be very upset if the big man doesn't get the MVP trophy here. So definitely going to be a close race, and hopefully Embiid ends up with that trophy. We are going to jump to the Eastern Conference standings right now, as the Sixers are third now in the Eastern Conference in a very tight, packed middle of the Eastern Conference. You have the Heat in first place, about 2-game lead over the Celtics right now. But then you have the Bucks and 76ers at the same exact record. Celtics played one more game than the Sixers and the Bucks, so they're a game ahead right now. Then the teams below just aren't near them. So Sixers are either going to finish at the 2 seed or as the number 4 seed. A very tight Eastern Conference race, and they have 3 games remaining, very easily beatable opponents. Where do you guys see the Sixers landing here in these last 3 games and going into the playoffs here?
Now, I really like the 4 seed. It's crazy to say, like, any year prior, you want to get the 1 and 2 seed. But right now, the 4 seed looks very, very good, especially with the Nets up there 7 or 8. They're going to have that first play-in game. They're probably going to get the 7 seed. And the Bucks and Celtics, 2 versus 3. So you think, if you get out of the first round as a 3 seed, you're either playing Milwaukee, Boston, or the Nets. Teams the Sixers have all lost to this year. But if you're up there with the 4, you're playing the Raptors, a team that Sixers should blow out of the water. And the Heat, a team the Sixers are a very good matchup with, and I'd rather be playing the Miami Heat than the Milwaukee Bucks and Brooklyn Nets. So right now, the 4 seed is exactly where I want to be.
Yeah, I do think they are going to get the 3 seed, just looking at the teams ahead of them. The Celtics are playing 2 very good teams with the Bucks and then the Grizzlies. Both of those teams are playoff teams. Both of them are going to be a tough game. And then the Sixers are playing 3 really easy teams. I just think that the Sixers are going to pass the Celtics. Bucks will be 2, Sixers will be 3.
Yeah, the Sixers, their next 3 games, final 3 games this season are against the Raptors on tonight, Thursday night, the Pacers on Saturday, and the Pistons on Sunday. So 3 games in about 4 days here. Do we see Embiid playing all 3 of these games, or do you see Doc Rivers giving him some time off before the playoffs here?
Definitely not the Pistons game if he's going to sit any of them. Probably not the Pacers one either, so this will probably be his last game if he plays tonight.
I can see him playing all game tonight, obviously, and then maybe like half that Pacers game, just so the rust's not completely there come playoff time.
Yeah, definitely going to be an exciting time for the Sixers, and they're heading to the playoffs shortly here. So we'll have playoff talk next week for you guys. That's all we have for the Sixers, as we're going to jump into the Philadelphia Phillies, as it's an exciting time to be a Phillies fan, as opening day is finally upon us on Friday. The Phillies open up their weekend stint against the Oakland A's. 3-game series. They play Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. A lot of news here. The Phillies came out with their opening day roster. By surprise, Bryson Stott and Alec Boehm made the opening day roster. Many people thought that one of them would be at AAA with Lehigh Valley, but no, the Phillies won both of them up there. So definitely going to be a competition here at third base. Going to open up. Where do you guys think is going to start at third base here opening day? I mean, I definitely think it's going to be Alec Boehm, especially since he was on the opening day roster last year. I think it's his position to lose at this point, so I'm definitely on the Alec Boehm starting third base here.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Right now, it's still Boehm's job to lose. I know he played really bad last year, and Bryson Stott has been so good so far in spring training. but you have to keep giving Bohm that last chance. He's going to start opening day, but going forward, I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce is out in that lineup.
Yeah, the one thing that would be interesting to see if now that the DH option is available, why not try playing Bohm there? Obviously, he struggled a lot at third base defensively. I think that if he keeps struggling, you can put Scott there, but you don't automatically have to move on from Alec Bohm. You can put him at that DH. You can maybe move some other guys around too. So I think that keeping him on the roster is very important for his future success.
Yeah, it's a very good point, Aiden. The NL did add that DH this year, a very crucial ad, as Aiden said. So Phillies have a lot of flexibility with how they can use their players this year. So definitely be interesting to see how Joe Girardi uses his lineup this year. Another player that made the opening day roster that fans were very happy about is Mickey Moniak, the former first overall pick who hit .377 in spring with 6 home runs. Definitely surprising a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people thought he was going to make the opening day roster this year, but he did. But news came out a little bit ago that he has a stress fracture in his wrist now. He's out for 6 weeks. Just how much is this news is not good for the Phillies? I mean, finally we get one of our younger guys. He's on the come up. Looked like he was going to get that opening day center field position, and then stress fracture. He's out for 6 weeks now. So where can we go from here now with the Mickey Moniak train?
Well, the really big question is who's that backup center fielder? Because at this point, Matt Verling's definitely going to be the starter. There wasn't too much question until the last 2 weeks when Moniak started playing really well, and then there was a little bit of question. But at this point, it's who's that backup center fielder? Because now you have Moniak out and Odubel. So I think the Phillies are either going to have to look to pull someone up from AAA or just make a small trade just for a little bit of depth until Moniak can come back.
I'm just so upset about this. Mickey Moniak, he was our first overall pick in 2016. We were waiting for when he's going to show that MLB starting glimpse, and he looks so good in spring training. His confidence in his swing looks so good, and I'm just really not upset. Upset for him. He's finally going to get the opportunity to start, and now he's out a month and a half. And no disrespect to Matt Verling, but I was really looking forward to see Mickey Moniak in the starting lineup.
Yeah, we're going to have to get put on pause for the Mickey Moniak wait. It's going to be 6 weeks, but definitely go by quick, and hopefully he gets back in the lineup and does exactly what he was doing in spring training, and that's hitting home runs. So we are going to jump to Bryce Harper, already in MVP form in spring training already. Bryce did win the MVP in the National League last year. In spring training, he did not lose a step, batting .400, 8 home runs, 30 RBIs in spring training. He led the MLB in both categories this spring in home runs and RBI. So obviously Bryce doing MVP things once again for the Phillies. Is there any way Bryce wins back-to-back MVPs this year?
Absolutely. Right now, Bryce Harper is the best player in the National League. I mean, he's not only swinging the bat well in spring training, he's been showing emotion. Like, I saw one thing, he got struck out looking on a bad call, and he was showing emotion. You're a $300 million man who cares that much about winning in spring training. Just really shows much of his character, and I think he's the best player in the National League. I think he's going to carry the Phillies to playoffs, and I think he has a better chance to win back-to-back MVPs.
I would love to say yes, but I just can't, because the only issue is that the reason he won MVP last year is because of injuries to the players that were playing much better than him up to that point in the season. I mean, Ronald Acuna was by far the MVP of the National League, and then he got hurt, tore his ACL. He's not going to be back for a couple of weeks. Once he comes back, I expect him to still be in the form that he was. Juan Soto got off to a really slow start and then really picked up late in the season. Both of those guys, I think, have a really good chance. Not saying Harper doesn't. I just feel like it's going to be way more competitive this year than it was when he won last year.
Yeah, completely agree, but I think Bryce's eyes are set away from that MVP trophy this year and definitely on making the playoffs because he has not made the playoffs yet as a Philadelphia Philly, and his old team, the Washington Nationals, won a World Series as soon as he left. So Bryce is definitely trying to get to the playoffs and definitely trying to get to the World Series, breaking that 10-year playoff drought for the Phillies here. So definitely has his eyes set on that. The Phillies do have opening day on Friday, a very exciting time as we've waited a while after this baseball lockout. Against the Oakland A's. Aaron Nola will be making a start on the mound for the Phillies. Nola did have a little up and down season last year, but could definitely be a great year to bounce back for Aaron Nola, as we know him and Zach Wheeler can be a great 1-2 punch for that starting rotation. What can we expect from this series with the Oakland A's?
I expect the Phillies to sweep the A's easily, just because the A's have basically traded all of their best players. I mean, Chris Bassett's gone, Matt Chapman's gone, Matt Olson's gone, a couple other players. They basically gutted the entire team. So the Phillies should easily sweep them. Another big piece of this opening day, this will be Aaron Nola's 5th consecutive opening day start. He's now only behind Robin Roberts, and he's also only behind, I have it here, I can't find it, but there's somebody else here that's also he's behind. So it's going to be really nice for that we now have a starting pitcher who can make that many consecutive opening day starts.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Anything but a sweep right now to start this season is kind of a disappointment, considering us and the A's, our offseason are very polar opposites. They sold their team, but we went out and we bought all these two big bats and added some well-needed bullpen depth. So with Noah pitching tomorrow on the bump, and then Gibson and Eflin going days 2 and 3, I really like the Phillies to get off the sweep here and have a nice momentum shift going to start the season.
Yeah, Citizens Bank Ballpark is definitely going to be rocking this weekend. Could assume people haven't seen baseball in forever. The additions of Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos definitely going to put fans in the seats, and it's going to be a lot of fun baseball to watch. Do want to bring up real quick news in the NL East as the New York Mets star pitcher Jacob deGrom, he's going to be out for significant time. How does this affect the NL East?
It affects it a lot. I mean, when you have a guy as good as deGrom, when he's not on the field, it helps anybody he's playing against. And he's out for at least a month, and he's probably going to be evaluated. Injuries have bothered him his whole career, so I think it's huge news for the Phillies.
Yeah, it is definitely a big loss for the Mets. Helps the Phillies out a little bit, but that's all we have for the Phillies. Hopefully, we can talk to you guys about a 3-game sweep against the Oakland A's next week. We are going to jump to some Eagles talk, as the Eagles made a very interesting pre-draft trade. Does not pretty much Howie Roseman written all over it, taking advantage of the New Orleans Saints. The Eagles received a 2022 number 18 pick, 101, 237, a 2023 first-round pick, a 2024 second-round pick. And the Saints, we traded the 16th pick this year, the 19th pick this year, and the number pick 194. So definitely an interesting trade for the Eagles. You still have 2 first-round picks this year, even additional 2 first-round picks next year. If I'm sitting here as an Eagles fan, this definitely is lining up to giving Jalen Hurts this team for the next year, see what he can do, see what he can prove to be that franchise guy. And if he's not, then you have the firepower to trade out for a top quarterback like Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, who are the top guys in the QB class right now. So what is your guys' overall thoughts on this trade? I mean, I loved it. I think it gives the Eagles a lot of flexibility for the future. And you still have 2 first-round picks this year, and you have a second-round pick, a couple second rounds too. So definitely a lot of firepower still for the Eagles.
You know, I think that this trade was awesome for the Eagles. Like you said, Caleb, they still have 2 first-round picks now, another 2 first-round picks next year, and they still have 10 picks overall, which means they still have a lot of room to make some more trades coming up to draft day. So it just gives the Eagles so much more freedom. I don't really know what the Saints are doing. I understand that you get 2 first-round picks, so you have 3 now, but you really gave up on your future here, and I think that the Eagles understand the value of these picks.
I really like the trade. We basically flipped this year's first for a future first, second, and third. I mean, you can't beat that at all. I mean, right now, we have had multiple first-round picks in back-to-back years is really good. Howie Roseman doing what he does every once in a while to show Eagles fans, oh, hey, I'm actually not a bad GM. And right now, I couldn't be more happier for how he did for us.
Yeah, definitely a very interesting trade for the Eagles. Like I said, the Eagles are giving Jalen Hurts that chance to prove that he is their franchise guy this year, it looks like. The Eagles do have the firepower to trade out for a QB next year if necessary. Do you guys think Jalen Hurts is their franchise guy?
Right now, I do. This year is his, like you said, we got that pick next year for insurance. So Hurts has to go out this year after coming off a playoff appearance last year. He has to lead us to the playoffs again, possibly win that division. He has to show us that he can be that championship caliber quarterback. And in my opinion, with all the right pieces around him, the right guys to win that, I think he can be a phenomenal quarterback in this league. And right now, it's just he has a great mindset, great work ethic, and he's a great character overall. And I want Jalen Hurts to be our franchise guy.
I think the biggest thing out of this entire draft, besides the picks that the Eagles have been getting and trading, is the fact that they've also been scouting Malik Willis, who by most scouts have said that he is the best quarterback in the combine that will be in this upcoming draft. I think that the Eagles, just by looking at another quarterback, are showing the fans that they aren't really sold on Jalen Hurts being the franchise quarterback. I think that because this draft class is not very strong, because they weren't able to get a quarterback in the offseason, they're going to stick with Hurts this year, see how he does. If he does great, then I think they're okay with keeping him, but I don't think they're completely sold on him. I think that's completely fine and pretty fair for a guy who only started one full season and was drafted in the second round to be a project quarterback.
Yeah, I believe it's fair to give Hurts this season. I mean, he definitely proved it last year. I mean, he showed a lot of promise last year, leading the Eagles to the playoffs at a 9-7 record. Definitely just overall, he made improvements throughout that whole season. And apparently I saw a report that he's working with Tom Brady right now. So what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, the arm should improve if you're working with the greatest of all time, right?
Yeah, I think that this is something that a lot of guys do, especially quarterbacks. When you're that young, you want to work with guys who have that skill set, who have done really great things in the NFL. And it's also really cool for Tom Brady to be like, hey, I know where I'm at my point in my career. I've won all these stuff. I'm still one of the best quarterbacks. I want to help the younger guys improve as well. So I think that it's really good for both of them. And I think it also shows that Brady could maybe be a coach maybe for the Eagles at some point. I mean, that's obviously a way down the road, but it is really cool to see Hurts working out with Brady.
No, it definitely is really cool to see. I mean, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, teaching our quarterback anything would help out a lot. I just think it's really funny because, I mean, like, 3 months ago, he's the one who knocked us out of the playoffs, and now here he is teaching our quarterback to go. But I really like it. If Hurts can learn anything from Tom Brady, I'll take it.
Yeah, the definitely interesting news in the quarterback situation with the Eagles, but the Eagles do have the NFL draft coming up, like we've been saying. They have 2 first-round picks still, a lot of firepower to draft a lot of young talent and put a lot of young talent in that facility to see if they can take this team to the next level. After trading away one of those first-round picks, where do you guys think this direction for the team will go? Do you think they're still going to go with that wide receiver position because that's very thin and then go one defense? But definitely be interested to see what kind of side they go here.
I really think they should go defense first round. I really like Derek Stingley out of LSU and Nakobe Dean, linebacker from Georgia. There's plenty of wide receivers to go around, so I think we can wait for second and third round to grab one of those guys. And I heard rumors the Eagles, they're going to transition to a 3-4 defense. So if we go after a guy like Nakobe Dean, he'll just fit that scheme perfectly.
You know, I definitely agree that you have to go defensive on these picks, but I still think they should go wide receiver. I really think that they should go linebacker with that first pick and then go wide receiver, just because those are both needs. Yes, we do need a cornerback, but I think that that's also a position that you still have some veteran experience at, so you could still wait and get another good, pretty solid cornerback in the second round, or just wait till next year's draft and draft one with one of those first-round picks.
Yeah, another guy available for wide receiver sounds like Brandon Cooks from the Houston Texans. He's 28 years old. I think that'd be a great addition for the Eagles. He's very consistent. He's had 4 seasons in a row of 1,000-plus yards receiving, and those were on 4 separate teams. So it looks like he can fit in any offense that you put him in, and I definitely think that'd be a great trade for the Eagles, especially with all the draft capital they have. He'd take a high draft pick, but I think that's a guy that you need to get in the building this year as he'd help. Older guy, veteran guy helping Devontae Smith and Quez Watkins, even Jalen Hurts. So I think that'd be a great trade for the Eagles. That's all we have for the Eagles. We are going to hop to Fast 5. And our first one, college basketball did wrap up this week, sadly, but our last this week in college basketball with Aiden.
Yes, so unfortunately, because it was a 9 o'clock start times, I understand why some fans on the East Coast may have gone to bed at halftime. North Carolina was up 15 at that point. It looked like Kansas was dead in the water. Second half came out. Kansas was just on fire, ended up winning the game. It was just an awesome game overall. Really showed the leadership of the Kansas coach Bill Self, who now has tied Jay Wright with the most active wins for college basketball coach with 2. Mike Krzyzewski obviously had the most, but he retired. There's some rumors that Krzyzewski might come back. I don't really know if that's really true, but it will be interesting to see what happens in this offseason and what happens in the future of college basketball, which coach is going to fill in Jay Wright's position as top coach in college basketball.
Yeah, Tom Brady retired, and then he came back. Coach K retired. We could possibly see a return from Coach K. So I could definitely see that as I don't think he wanted to end his career losing in the Final Four to UNC. So we'll see what happens with the Duke scenario there. The Lakers were officially eliminated from playoff contention. Just overall reaction to that, I think this was probably one of the biggest collapses in an NBA team in history. I mean, you went into this season with expectations of making it to the Western Conference Finals, and you can't even make it in a play-in game where you're letting the 9, 10, 11 seed get a chance to even get in the playoffs. You can't even get that. I mean, I think this puts a dent in LeBron's career as a whole. I mean, if you don't count the bubble, he hasn't even won a playoff series in a Lakers uniform yet. Many people don't even want the bubble championship to count because of the scenario they were put in that season. I mean, it's a lot different than playing in an away court and having fans around you. So I just think overall it was a complete disastrous offseason for the Lakers. I mean, all the money they spent trading for Russell Westbrook, who clearly did not fit with LeBron and AD, signing out with Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn, who did not play well up to expectations as they thought. So Lakers fans are definitely not happy right now, and LeBron may leave this team in shambles by the time he's done. So definitely not good over there in Los Angeles. We are going to go to Matt for this next one. Who has the best chance at winning the Masters as that tournament started today?
Yeah, it started earlier today, and right now Cam Smith was -6 overall. He's been playing really good golf. Same with Scotty Scheffler, and Tiger Woods is back. So you never know with Tiger, but there's always guys like Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, Justin Thomas. He'll always have that chance. But my winner, it's always my winner. It's going to be Jordan Spieth. He's played the Masters before. He's won the Masters before. He's changed his swing up a little bit. He's looked good last tournament to close it out. I think he takes his momentum. He knows the course very well, and I think he wins the second Masters.
Yeah, I think it's definitely great to see Tiger Woods back on the golf course. I mean, a major injury he had, and at his age, coming back and playing in a major tournament like this is kind of unheard of. So props to Tiger Woods for coming back, and it's just great to see him back out on the green. Next question we're going to is the NFL draft is coming up. The best prospect in the NFL draft. I'm going to take this one. I'm going to go to Mod Sauce Gardner, cornerback from Cincinnati. I feel like just his intangibles, he's a very good player in college. He did not allow one touchdown in coverage, proven that he can lock wide receivers down. He's lengthy, very athletic. So I just think whatever team drafts him, he kind of reminds me a lot of Jalen Ramsey. So I could definitely see a team drafting him. He's going to make immediate impact in that team. And his draft stock has been rising, apparently. People are saying he could land in the top 5 somewhere. So for a guy that at first was projected to fall to the Eagles around the late 20 pick. So definitely a very good prospect there, and definitely team's going to be very happy ending up with him. And our last question we're going to go to is MVP for this upcoming MLB season. It's a little early, but what's your thoughts on it?
So I have 3 for each league, but after going through, it's just so competitive with these 3 guys. But I think for the NL, it's going to be Ronald Acuna. I think he's going to come back. I think he's going to be really healthy. He's going to lead off where he was at the end of last season when he got hurt. And then for my AL, I just have Vlad Guerrero, really powerful guy. Unfortunately, he didn't win last year because Shohei Ohtani had one of the best performances in baseball history. But I do think that Vlad Guerrero, now that he's going to be in Toronto full-time, which the Blue Jays haven't been for the last couple of seasons due to COVID, I think that's going to be really easy for him to just develop into a great hitter in that stadium. And I think that those 2 guys will win MVP this year.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a scary sight when Ronald Acuna comes back this year, as he is in the Phillies division. We saw last year he was leading that MVP race. Then Aiden said earlier that ACL tear, but definitely going to see a big bounce-back season from Acuna. That's all we have for Fast 5, and that's all we have for Sports Talk Philadelphia today. I want to thank you guys for coming over and watching again. Don't forget to follow us on our social media on Twitter and Instagram at Sports Talk LTV. And that's all we have for another episode this week, and thanks for coming over and watching again.